Council of the North is a grouping of dioceses and archdeaconries which are supported through grants by the General Synod. The geographic area of the Council represents 85% of Canada's landmass and is home to 15% of the population. With leadership from diocesan and Indigenous bishops, the Council meets twice a year to administer General Synod's grants for Northern Mission and to share and address the challenges of providing pastoral and sacramental ministry to isolated communities. In recent years, the Council has embraced the marks of mission and has been guided by Vision 2019. Leaders across the Northern Church recognize that the General Synod's support is not about delivering services to members, but about equipping members to serve.
Across Canada and around the world, Anglicans are drawn together in the service of God's mission by what we know as the 5 marks of mission. They are to proclaim the good news of the gospel, to teach and nurture and baptize new believers, to respond to human need by loving service, to transform unjust structures of society, address violence of every kind, and pursue peace and reconciliation, and to care for the earth.
We are having to find ways in which our structures can be shaped by our mission as opposed to our mission being constrained by our structures. We have a new initiative in the Diocese of the Yukon, for example, where there is a ministry of presence, and they're using some of the grant and the support we get from the General Synod to bring people into communities, just to live there and provide some basic presence of Christian ministry in that community. The courageous ways in which both the Diocese of Kuwait and the Diocese of Moosonee have embraced a future which has some unknowns in terms of the structure of the diocese as they've known it, but continues a commitment to the ministry and mission of the Church. We're teaching in the Council of the North in Bible studies, in vacation Bible schools, in fly-in communities, in gatherings of new believers, in schools of ministry for lay people and ordained people that go on, in the work of catechists and in the growing work of catechists in the North, which has been a part of our ministry from the beginning.
These 11 dioceses cover 85% of the landmass of Canada. They are coping with great distances. They cope with limited financial resources, and they cope with huge challenges in ministry.
The pastoral needs of the North are without doubt higher than in the rest of the country. One of the challenges that we face in the Council is we have fewer resources and greater needs than most of the rest of the country when it comes to the work and mission of the Church. That's a challenge that is before us, which we are trying to address imaginatively and courageously.
Praise you forever, singing a song of love, a song of praise. Worship together, worship here in this place.
People that are exercising ordained ministry in the North do that at a great cost. And as we know, a number of people in ordained ministry in those dioceses are in fact non-stipendiary. And the Church really needs to be attentive to their needs, given the generosity that they bring to their ministry.
Of the 16 communities that I look after in the Northern Ontario region, 12 of these communities are ministered by non-stipendary priests, and some of them are elderly, retirement age, and yet they go on serving. These clergy that serve as non-stipendary are faithful, dedicated, and devoted to their calling. And this is a fine example of what it means to respond to human need by loving service, as the third Marks of Mission says.
When I think of a deacon who has a full-time job, but after their work drives 4 hours to the hospital to visit a dying elder 4 hours away and gets back home at 3 in the morning, I think of responding to human need by loving service. When I think of people traveling large distances in the winter to go and comfort a family and a community that are grieving after a tragic suicide in a community, I see someone responding to human need by loving service.
Serve you, no greater honor for us to be your servants here. Grant us thy Holy Spirit to light
The development of area missions is not just a cost-saving measure, but more so a move towards greater self-determination of Indigenous peoples. It does answer to the fourth Marks of Mission, where it states to transform the unjust structures of society. By having the area mission, we are transforming the structures to enhance the work of the Native ministry. There is a lot of work yet to be done in areas of healing and to seek peace and reconciliation. Our people have undergone so much pain and despair, and yet they still go on with their ministry and their faith. Our desire is that we will continue to proclaim the gospel to our people, to everyone, whether it be in our native language or in other language.
We, through the Council of the North, I think, are seeing some really exciting developments in terms of self-determination and a fulfilling of the desires for self-determination on the part of Indigenous peoples. Self-determination with respect to leadership in their own communities and structures of the church that work for them, that are more in sync with Aboriginal ways of gathering, making decisions, moving forward together. There are some wonderful developments, of course, to celebrate. There's all that's happened in Northern Ontario, the movement from an area mission to now the creation of a northern diocese. There's the shared ministry between a diocesan and an Indigenous bishop in Saskatchewan. And there are other conversations, across Canada's north in terms of new ways of being the church.
in our hearts there's a place. Hear us on this day. In His name we are forgiven. In His name we are one. Two or more gathered together. We ask for grace in His name. Hear us when we are joyful to you.
One of the particular challenges that we face, of course, in the north is our faithful living out of Mark of Mission number 5 with respect to care for creation, out of a sense of care and concern for those who come after us. And there are two things that really are very much at play in Canada's north. One is, of course, the melting ice cap and the impact that is beginning to have on the land, on the people, on the culture, issues of homeland security, and you know, the openness of the waters across the polar cap and so on. What's all the impact on, in terms of the changing culture of Canada's north? The other one, of course, is that Canada's north is very rich in natural resources, and as much as we want to be able to extract those resources, we believe, as people of faith and people who are called to steward God's creation, that we must go about resource extraction in ways that are entirely responsible. And the third piece, I think, there also is that there's much to learn. I think there's much to learn from our Indigenous brothers and sisters. We need to be listening to their respect for the land, their care for the land. You know, it's in their heartbeat, the care for the land.
The financial support that we receive through the General Synod allows us to carry on the ministry and mission of the Church in the North. But the greatest good we receive from that financial support is the encouragement that it provides to the lay and ordained ministers who work so selflessly and sacrificially throughout the north of Canada.
Our Anglican Church of Canada has for many years had a deep commitment to the Church in the North. And through Vision 2019, which carries us forward for yet another 6 years, support for the Council of the North is one of the high priorities within Vision 2019. It's a marvelous story of partnership, the Anglican Church of Canada and the Council of the North, a marvelous story of partnership in the service of God's mission right here at home in Canada.
We have an opportunity in the North to model for the rest of the community what it looks like to walk together as equals. And we've been blessed, particularly in my diocese, by a commitment to what we call being together in the gospel, Mamoyesi Miwachimuin. That is the most encouraging thing that's happened there, is to see that commitment both from our Indigenous and non-Indigenous members to rediscover and to reclaim our God-given and Christ-redeemed dignity and equality as human beings, as Christians in the Church.
The Council of the North has come to a significant turning point in its life and relationship with the wider Church. Past rivalries and conflicts have been set aside. The emphasis today is on nurturing deep and abiding partnerships across the Canadian Church. In pressing on toward the future, the Council draws inspiration from St. Paul in his letter to the Philippians. I want to know Christ and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of sharing in his sufferings, forgetting what is behind and straining towards what lies ahead.